Brian, but I guess he's on the computer.
Wanted to get into that for a while.
I'm gonna do the minutes to approve first, and then we'll do the short presentation.
Move them, Jim Basile.
Second.
Wait, I didn't ask. Sure. All right, you did what now?
Move it, Jim Basile for the minutes.
Second, Hans. Anybody questions, comments on the minutes? No, if not, approve or approve. Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Any nays? All right. Herb. You're on, Herb.
Andy, thank you for giving us a minute to do this. The Water and Sewer Authority reports to this committee. We have all new administration there, and I thought it would be worthwhile to introduce them to the board. And if you have any questions, Carl and work for the
Hey,
authority.
why don't you go up to the,
Want me up there?
yeah, just so that, go up there, that way it's, you got the microphone. I don't know if it's recording, so that way they could hear you, that's all.
Okay. Yes. Just wonder if this
That
one,
one.
I don't know what I'm doing.
That's right there.
Okay, the Water and Sewer Authority reports to this committee, and we have all new administration there, and I thought it would be worthwhile to introduce them to you and you to them. Carl Reinfleck has worked for the authority for 16 years, mostly in the field, but we advertised for and selected him as director of the authority. His field really is in the field, and we thought we needed someone to do some office work. So we advertised again and selected Jennifer Skank, who was here. And she has a lot of experience in finance work. Plus, she's worked for several of the towns, and I think that will work very well. And David Skank is the new chairman of our board. And we're a part of the county, and we want to have you know that we are, and we want to do what you want us to do. And if there's any questions you have, Carl would like to take just a minute and go over some of the programs that we're getting into right now.
Presently, right now, we're working through the master plan. That's been a big project. I think we're close to fruition on that. And also, in the meantime, we've started the groundwork for laying a sewer line along Cayuga Lake. An area south of Aurora really needs service quite badly. So we're working with the town of Ledyard and the town of Genoa to pursue putting that sewer line in. I think that's going to be a very monumental project at the end of the day. And I think it would really be a credit to our area to get that done. We're also in the process of a smaller job of putting a new water main on Genesee Street, which will also be surfacing the IDA property. So we've got a lot of things going on. The master plan is a big one, and we'll be engaging a lot of you for your advice and maybe giving you some tasks to do. So that'll be the big one coming up. Yeah, well, yes, and David reminded me, we've really gotten pretty aggressive about it. We just took on one of the larger towns in the county. We're doing the old operation and maintenance for their water system. It's really been quite successful. Truthfully, we've already saved the town probably tens of thousands of dollars already, just in updating things and proposals that they were given for maintenance work. We found other ways of doing it. So we're really working hard to develop a criteria where we'll come in and help a town and work with them. And everyone's kind of dealing with a shortage of staff. I'm very fortunate. I've got a young crew of guys, and they're all good men. So we're very blessed that we've got good people. And I think we've got great opportunity to help the other towns and for the water authority to grow.
Carl, what town is it? Do you mind my asking?
It's actually the town of Fleming.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Fleming is a big town. I lived here my whole life and never realized how spindly Fleming is. There's a lot going on out there.
Andy, thank you very much. Is there any other questions any of you might have?
Thank you.
Yes.
Jim?
Well, I want to welcome all the promotions and staff and I'll see you in January so I can shake the trees a little bit on an issue up in my district. I'll let you go through the holidays.
Chris?
Yeah, I was just curious, is the master plan the second source of water plan or?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, that would be a second source.
Okay,
And the spine, the distribution system going with it.
Great. Are you guys looking at any infrastructure planning in like other areas, like the northern part of the county, for instance, with Micron's announcement, and there's committees being formed to look at housing and economic development, things like that, where water and sewer would be.
It's funny, we just spent, myself and two consultants just spent a couple hours 2 weeks ago talking about that.
Great.
Oddly enough, there's a lot of needs. And one of the things that's happened historically in the past is every town or every district took care of their piece, but there was never an overview of how we could connect them. And the northern end of the county will definitely benefit from that project.
Thanks.
So has it been a smooth transition, I guess? I mean, are we taking what we were doing and smoothly continuing doing as long as, and coming up with new things that we need to do?
Yeah, actually, it's going quite well.
Anybody else for Carl or Herb or any of them?
Could I ask something, Andy?
Yeah, go ahead.
The master plan that's you're looking at is fine, and is all of that the ongoing plan to continue to look for funding for those kind of opportunities, or?
Yes, it's cumbersome because it's so large. And one of the things that, one of the stumbling blocks we've had is coming up with a way to present it so that we get it out to vote. And that's where we're at right now. The master plan, as far as the basic information of where pipes are going and what needs to be done, the mechanicals are complete. Now we're kind of suffering with the public relations and the political end of it.
and getting it out to vote to make sure there's village and town supports and enough
Right.
interest in hooking up.
Right, right.
That's the next thing the legislature is gonna have to do, is decide how to deal with it when we present it to you. It looks like at this point, we're going to try to get some type of a group to implement it, either the legislature or a group of town supervisors or somebody, rather than just have the water authority do it. And so when we get to that point of presenting it, it's going to be really quite complicated.
Because that's the whole crux of it. There has to be enough volume of interest to be able to move it forward.
We have to get the cost of it low enough so it doesn't scare people. And we worked several things to try to get it that way. And that's where, and I didn't introduce him because he's not here, but Doug Selby, who was the city manager, has worked with us for quite some time. And he managed the water and sewer department for the city of Las Vegas before he came to Auburn. So he's very familiar with these. And he's kind of in charge for us of the master plan, and he will help present it.
Anybody else?
I have just one last thing. I want to thank the highway department. We're still in that sewer thing for the milk plant, and we are all ready to go to bid. And we have the pipe that the former contractor had bought, and he was holding on to it, and we needed a place for it, and we had no idea where to put it, but the highway superintendent allowed us to put it on their property, and that saved us a lot of trouble. Andy, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Herb, for them guys.
All right, no appointments, no departments.
Thank you.
Kyle,
Have nothing to add to my report.
okay, does anybody got any questions or anything for? Kyle? Not, all right, thank you. Harry,
Okay, you have my report. The only thing I was going to add to it, is just an update on item 5 under Buildings and Grounds Administration. The chairman had requested that Buildings and Grounds and Highway develop a plan for improved parking and mental health. Brian and I have been working together on it. We're doing Dig Safe right now to make some changes out there that we think will at least double the amount of parking in the existing parking lot, where that circular drop off is. And I've got another thing I'm working with Bergman on to remove that pergola and make even more parking. So ultimately, there should be quite a bit more parking out there. Short term, probably about double what's in that lot now. Long term, I'm hoping for 3 times as much parking as there is right now in that lot. But that's going to require some architecture and engineering work. So that's all I have to add to my report, unless there's any questions.
I got anything for Gary? You want to do your one resolution, see if it's
Yeah, do that. The resolution I have is authorizing the chair of the legislature to sign a one-year agreement with Morgan Rubbish Incorporated for removal of trash and recycling from the various county buildings.
Move it, Lydia.
Second, Basile.
okay, Dave.
Yeah, I just want to thank Gary and Brian for working with us on that because Lauren got a hold of us 3 weeks ago when that parking lot where they used to park, where the new cancer center is going to be, the hospital owns, that was taken away to start the construction. And since then, Lauren and her people have no place to park. So thank you, Brian and Gary, for working on this, and hopefully we can get it done soon.
Jim,
Sorry, I couldn't move
I was
that.
gonna say Lydia's not in the committee. She,
Sorry.
her excitement.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Let me check the list here. Christina Kowalko, yes.
all right, so who?
I'll move it.
She'll move, Christina will move it. I'll second
Your
it.
second, all right, did you get that?
I checked and my name's on the list.
You're not the first person that's ever done that
Yeah, when
over the years, trust me.
Randy.
Hell, I was in my 3rd or 4th year and I did that. So, all right, so any questions on the dumpster thing or the garbage thing for Gary? I've got one for you, Gary. How often does this go out to bid or whatever?
We've actually been monitoring it on a, like, at least a semi-annual basis for years. And our current supplier, Casella, has always been the most cost effective. But all of a sudden, they came in with a massive price increase. So we went out again and we found Morgan was quite a bit cheaper, so we're going with Morgan.
I was curious about, so, because,
Yeah, this one, we'll have to revisit it in a year. They're giving us a one-year contract at the prices they quoted. We may have to go out again next year if they won't extend it, so we'll see.
okay, you're legal, so I'm asking you, he's a nobody for this committee. So I can still vote on this, right? Even though, I mean, I use Morgan Rubbish for my dumpster, for my farm. Am I okay to still vote on this? Because I agree with every word he said. We should have been checking them for years.
I would. Yes, if you use them, I don't think you would have a prohibited interest in it.
No, I have nothing to do with their company. I just use the company.
So no, I believe you can vote on this.
Okay. Just want to make sure. Anybody else for Gary on this one? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. That all you got then, Gary?
That's it. Thank you.
All right, Doug.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did distribute a report. A lot of updates in there relevant to the several different properties, construction projects we have going on. Probably the one that's of most interest right now, and then we'll get some follow-up tomorrow from the Parks Commission on night. I did include under the Parks Department report, Parks and Trails Department, item C. There's a couple of charts in there. One is proposed rental rates for 2023, as well as this year's rates, next year's rate, and the following rate. Per the feedback we had at the Parks Commission, the Public Works Committee meeting last month, we broke those out and distributed them to the Parks Commission so they could take a look at this year's rates and rolling out the rate increase for the next 2 years over the next 2 years, so over 23 and 24 to get to the targeted rate, which is anywhere 50% or more increased rental rates based on all of the expenses that we have and the increase that we've had over time.
So, not to cut you off,
Yeah.
but so this is what you guys took back to your meeting at Parks.
That's the proposal that will get voted on tomorrow at the Park Commission, but it was distributed to them for review prior to the meeting. that we
But
have
this
tomorrow.
is what they all agreed on.
This is the outline we had. They can approve it tomorrow.
We, as I'm on that committee, Andy, we haven't agreed on it yet. I'm sure there'll be some discussion.
Well, I guess there's my issue. Why is it in front of us if it's not been agreed on by the Parks Commission?
I think he's just giving it for information, just so you can see, because there was questions by the legislature, the full ledge and stuff about
This
going,
is the proposal that's going to go in front of the Park Commission in January. We would have a resolution.
just FYI, I'm sure.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions on that for Doug while we're talking about it?
Go ahead.
I know we had a fairly lengthy discussion about some of the community events that run Dobell, and how they're in the middle of planning for those events for next year. Has there been any consideration for booking this year by year end for that, or any consideration for those events?
We have booked the events that we're awaiting our annual events. Most of them have been sent contracts for next year.
Okay.
Because a lot of them have pending contracts with their own vendors next year that they need to be. So until this resolution passes, the existing rates that we have are on the contracts that we are currently sending out, so that we're not delaying their planning for the summer.
Thank you.
You know, the barbecue event, several of those work with national vendors. They need contracts by the end of the year, insurance, things like that. So any of those that need it, and then the day that the resolution passes is the day we'll change the rates in the system for reservations going forward from that time.
Thanks, Doug.
Do these people know that there's a rate change coming?
Yes.
Anybody else for Doug on this?
No.
Brian, you guys? Here's apparently not. All right, moving on, Doug.
Just a few other notes. We are still awaiting the CFA. Chairman asked me about that. We're still awaiting the CFA results for the Dobell Island project. We expect those this month. December is generally speaking when those are released. For the Sterling Nature Center, we're wrapping up construction that will happen this year. So we've constructed a shelter, pergola, a lot of the outdoor landscaping, outdoor classroom, all those are done. That project will go into shutdown until we can put framing up on the foundation, which if anybody has a crystal ball and can tell me when the weather will break, that would be appreciated, but probably the middle of March. That project's going along well. That's it. Questions?
Anybody got any questions?
I couldn't help but notice the donation, the mention of donations to the Ag Museum. And is that from when you came on as a director, or what time period does that cover?
That's all of what Tim has raised.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's almost it's over $750,000.
Yep.
So that's great. Do we have a system for managing donors for the museum, or the donors, or do those come in?
He does.
The board for the museum.
There's a list, gold, silver, bronze, I don't know what else is.
Including in the building, there's
Yeah.
recognition of the building too, yeah.
Bricks outside with names and
Yep.
slate plates inside with donors. All sorts of things.
That's a long-term process.
Yeah, I just wanted
A lot of
to
development, so, yeah.
highlight it because it's great. It's mostly, is it mostly from the farm community, or is it from a variety of donors, or?
It's a good portion from the farm community that's some sponsorship. Generally from the board.
Thanks, Doug.
Yep.
Anybody else got anything for Doug? Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
All right, Brian.
The only thing I have to add to this report is just change on the dates of guardrail and Colgate. Going here, Oak Hill, both those got pushed off till Thursday, so we on Monday like we expected.
You got anything for Brian?
Filling up the salt.
It has 7,000 ton in it.
Nice. I got you.
This is like, a meeting where you only have one resolution.
I didn't have any.
No, I mean, there's only one for all of you. That's like great. We're not spending money this month. Good.
Green spread.
Maybe. All right, has anybody got anything for Brian? No. All right. You don't have anything else, Brian? Then anybody got anything else for this committee? Jim?
I just, on the Sterling Nature Center, Doug and I met with the Friends of Sterling Nature Center Saturday, and would be sometime in the end of summer, fall, they're looking to open up their new building if it gets done. So I'm hoping that we can either have a meeting up there or something with the county legislature in its entirety, if we could, just to show off the facility for the county and it would be good publicity. So it looks good up there. Most of the building, most of the grounds are done. It's just the building because of material delays are waiting for some beams and some of the trusses. So
Just going back to what you said, maybe for the rest of the legislature and anybody who wants to see it. Tim has a list that he always has with the people who donate.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of businesses in out there too. I mean, it's probably 75% agriculture because he'll get
Yeah.
like Maine and Pinckney, O'Hara's, places like that, but there's also a lot of just individuals that.
Yeah, I can see if we can provide it. Yep.
So if we could get that list for everybody to go to see underneath.
Yeah.
For January or something.
Andy, I just got one thing.
Dave?
Just so everybody knows, and I sent the email to all the legislators, the museum did get honored by the state. And I think hopefully you read the email. If not, see you tomorrow, but we will do a proclamation to Tim and the staff out there next month.
I've been on that board before I was on the legislature, so I don't know, 10 years at least. I mean, the place is way different today than it was 10 years ago. So
Congratulations.
when that guy decides to slow down and actually retire, we may be in trouble financially.
I think so too. I've known him all my life and he's a great man to run that out there.
Yeah. All right, if nothing else for this committee,
motion to adjourn, move it.
anybody want to discuss that? I sure as a hell hope not. Not all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're done.
Now.
It's the first time I've ever heard that.
Now you can unmute.
Holy moly.
And I
Think so.
Yeah, you don't want to say no.
Which I did.
Heidi, what'd you think of that one?
I'm impressed.
Right?
Okay, we're gonna open planning. I'm gonna call it to order 5:59. Everyone is here, who needs to be here. Can I get a motion for the minutes for November 8th?
I'll move it, let's second, and I'm on this time.
Thank
Let me
you.
check the list. Yes, Lydia, you can vote.
It's me, I can do it.
Any discussion on those minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. We have some appointments to Cayuga County Soil and Water Conservation District Board. Slade Cox from Cato. And then I'm gonna also bundle the planning board. We have Darren Rooker, Patricia Bianchi, and Deborah Ross. And can I get a motion to approve those appointments? I don't really need to approve those appointments. I don't have to. Moving on. It was like old hat going on. Up there.
I get a question, Chair.
Yes.
So we were gonna approve them, but we're not, and that's I thought we were doing appointments, or am I getting it confused with something else that we were supposed to do resolutions on?
I think they said they were gonna do that
At
at
the
the
ledge
full
meeting.
ledge meeting with the resolution.
So it'll be listed as ledge 1 and then all the resolutions for all the committees on them.
The appointments.
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right, sorry, thank you.
So we'll go with our first department update from Steve Lynch.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to be here. You have my report. I don't have anything to add specifically to the report. Happy to clarify anything that you see or any other things that you're aware of that we're doing. And just as a reminder, we do have 3 resolutions for tonight, if there's no questions.
You don't have a crystal ball for the CFA.
No crystal ball for the CFA, although some of the ESD applications that went through for businesses have been announced. And there were some awards.
Or we can move on to resolutions if you like.
Okay. Rolling through. PL1 and PL3, if you care to bundle those. Those are generally administratively routine resolutions. PL1 authorizes us to submit the grant for the Household Hazardous Waste Program. This is requesting reimbursement for this past year's documented expenses. The grant goes in February. We usually end up getting paid around the 4th quarter of 2023 for that. It also authorizes us to move forward with implementing the HHW program as long as it's budgeted. And PL3 is also routine. It's basically authorizing the chair to execute an amendment to a grant contract for Emerson Park from their 2017 CFA award. It extends it for 1 year and
Move to
changes the
bundle.
scope.
Sorry. Move to bundle.
Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion on PL1 and PL3? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those are carried. Thank you.
Thank you. PL2 is a resolution accepting and adopting the Owasko Lake 9E plan for phosphorus reduction. The plan has been approved by the DEC, and this essentially just gives it the premature stamp of approval by the legislature.
A motion on 9E plan adoption.
I'll make that motion.
I'm sorry, I'll second it.
I was reading something, but I
Any
think,
discussion?
is this what I've been reading about for several months? We were going back and forth with the DEC on, wasn't it, is this part of that watershed plan or is this something different?
That is something different. What you're probably referring to is the discussions with the DEC and various people on agencies and staffs here at the county on the proposed watershed rules and regulations. This is separate.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Harry, thank you so much.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, up next on the agenda, Kelly Kane from Employment and Training.
evening, everybody. So tomorrow we are hosting with the New York State Department of Labor, our first job fair since COVID, which sounds crazy to say, it's been so long. But that is our first job fair with the DOL. We have 2 local manufacturers coming in, Bimbo Bakery and Leonardi Manufacturing. And then we have OPWDD, which is the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities. Desperate need for direct care, personal care workers. So they are recruiting out of our office. Typically, those positions are tested positions or civil service, high paying positions with low skill level. So I mean, in my eyes, it's a great way to get into the state system with high school diploma and earn a significant a good wage. It's tough work. They can't keep people because you get in there and you're shocked at the kind of work that you have to do. But we need people like that. So we are recruiting for them tomorrow, and they'll be in our office in person. One change we have to our youth program, which is exciting for us, is the way our federal funding works for our youth program is the focus has primarily been on out-of-school youth and high school dropouts. And we've kind of left behind the in-school youth population. We have to follow federal legislation. In 2014, it swapped over to focusing on out-of-school youth. Well, since then, just this, maybe 2 weeks ago, the federal government changed the rules and said, all right, now we need to focus on in-school youth. We can do 50-50. So 50% of our funds can now be spent on in-school youth, which is fabulous. And we just enrolled our first in-school youth as soon as that happened. So I'm excited about that because in-school youth do fall behind, even though they're connected to the school system, as much as the high school dropouts do. So now we can split our funds equally that way. I wish we had more funds, but what we have, we can split. Another update, we finally received our laptops and our video equipment and all of the things that we ordered through the ARPA money. So again, thank you for approving the $15,000. We purchased 10 laptops for the public and job seekers in the community. We purchased video camera equipment, microphones, editing software. So our goal is, and I see it with our youth, right? So everybody's texting. They don't know how to speak. They don't know how to talk. They don't know how to communicate with their mouths. They know how to communicate with their devices. So we have old school microphones that we ordered, and I'd like to implement a public speaking for youth program. And I'm excited that we're going to look at offering that once we have all of our IT equipment, formatted with IT. They have it all right now. So that's something we've never done before, but I think we need to bring back the essence of being public and public facing because everything is done through a device. We do it too as grown-ups. And then lastly, probably the most hot topic is Micron. Chairman Gould asked me to chair the workforce development subcommittee that is emerging from our work groups focusing on Micron. The biggest thing that I'm doing right now is formulating my committee. I have invited everybody to attend. I'm still adding to that, and our first meeting will be next week. Really focusing on the education system. So workforce along with the education system is really going to go hand in hand. Looking at curriculum and how to focus on K through 12, trade level and higher ed level to position ourselves where we need to be when Micron comes to fruition. So that's kind of in the making right now, meeting with my committee next week.
Oh, yeah. Any questions for Kelly King?
Tell me, Kelly. Is the state more frequently in the office?
They're in the office every day. They do have
more than one at a time.
Yes, they are still meeting with one customer a day, but they are in the office working. So that's good. More activity, seeing people, conducting in-person workshops, and that hadn't been going on. So yes, no, they are definitely a bigger part of the career center. So we're going in the right direction.
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just want to thank Kelly for stepping up and chairing that committee. Appreciate it. I think it'll certainly pay off in the future. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Michael Miller from CETA.
Good evening, everyone. My update for you this evening is going through some of our brief metrics. The number of existing businesses so far through November of this year is 63. Out of the 80 we've targeted for the year, we've gained some pretty nice traction over the last month with the addition of our new small business development specialist. Entrepreneurs we have assisted is 47 of the targeted 65 for this year as well. Back of your packets has some more metrics and economic indicators for your review there. Some other highlights I'd like to present here is the CMI LDA agreement and the hospital oncology project were closed earlier in November. The Auburn Hospital Oncology Project actually held its groundbreaking event on November 29th, last week there. So very excited to see that project move forward. As Kelly herself said here, we here at CETA are continuing to work with our partners at the local, regional, and state level around the opportunity that is presented by Micron. We're going to be meeting with David Botar and other representatives from surrounding counties next week on December 13th. And part of that discussion is going to be around what collaborative efforts may exist for us to partner with other counties. That being said, we do understand that it's friendly competition as this is all developing here. In other news, the Cayuga County Small Business Grant Program was officially launched on November 1st. To remind everyone, CETA's role in this was working with some of the legislators in this room, as well as Mr. Lynch, in putting that all together. I do have an update from what you were provided. As of today, we have 61 applications. 57 are from the city of Auburn, 2 are from Weedsport. The following, we have received 1 application so far from the towns of Ledyard, Aurelius, Mentz, Moravia, Sterling, Senate, and Port Byron, with 2 pending at the moment. The deadline for this right now is next week, 12/15. Please continue to get the word out on this. Applications are still open, and I think the application as set up is very easy for those who are looking to apply can do so. Some other items is I presented at the Ledyard Town Board on November 14th. This is part of an overall effort as we're going to be looking to connect throughout the community to meet with towns and villages, better inform those municipalities of our existing services and getting the word out on that. We formally engaged with MRB Group to provide administrative services for the BRI grant program. Maureen and I attended the IDA Training Academy on November 10th up in Utica, New York. This is the first time this event was held in the last couple of years. Really great information came out of that meeting, specifically Onondaga County IDA that spoke about a lot of the efforts and incentives they put together to attract Micron, but other companies they were trying to court before that. So really an excellent model that they've put together there. It's great to hear from them. Lastly, I will be attending the Travel Unity Summit, which is being scheduled from December 7th through 9th of this month. The summit itself will cover topics ranging from economic development, tourism initiatives, and DE&I initiatives as well. I'd like to note that Ms. Cool here is a huge part of getting this program set up. I'm very excited to attend. I think it's going to be a great conference. That's everything I have for this evening. Open to any questions. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much for your help with the applications process, the grant, and thanks to Maureen for all the work that she did with us. Could you please repeat the towns one more time? I'm
Sure.
not able to write as quickly
Sure.
as you are to speak.
So it's a little easier for me. So Auburn by far has the largest influx of applications with 57. Weedsport has 2. The following areas have 1. This is Ledyard, Aurelius, Mentz, Moravia, Sterling, Senate, and Port Byron.
Thank you.
We have 2 pending applications right now from outside the city as well.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Yes.
Mike, perhaps you could explain a little bit what your agency did for the first column down the CMI LDA agreement.
What CETA did?
Now, what is your role in the process?
So CETA provides administrative services to both the Cayuga County Industrial Development Agency as well as the Auburn Industrial Development Authority. So as the administrators, I hold the position of executive director. One of my colleagues holds the position of treasurer and secretary. So we're there every month ensuring the board is well informed of activities coming before the IDAs, keeping them on track. We're working with those attorneys and those companies on application preparation, vetting them for those IDA benefits, as well as completing all the paperwork to get that done. The ABO really oversees a lot of the reporting requirements the IDAs have. And that requires the website to be updated to ensure that the board's bylaws are updated every year. Are we staying compliant with every one of those outstanding pilots that are existing out there and updating them accordingly? So everyone that is receiving those tax incentives and those benefits from the IDAs, everyone is staying within the legal realm there. So that's what we're providing to those IDAs are those back-end administrative services.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug Pierce.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Just a couple quick updates. Last month, I talked about the City of Auburn project. Those numbers finally came in. We ended up stabilizing 160 feet of stream bank. Did remove a large point bar that was in there, some other deposition that was occurring, and regraded banks. So that project is done. And then we did a great project with the highway department down there at Cayuga. I think it came out well. It was nice. And the safety that was provided by the highway department and the signage, no accidents, no injuries. Especially with a project like that, major cut through road. I thought it went about as smooth as it could go probably. So that was a great job. And then the acreage seemed a little light on the cover crops, but every day more and more paperwork's coming in. So the farmers are finally getting back to getting the paperwork in, getting it into us. So it started at about 100, but we got another several hundred just today alone. So that's still coming along as all the fields have been planted. So a couple quick updates. If you guys have any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Sure, any questions for Doug?
I just didn't understand what you meant. The paperwork's coming in on the cover crops.
Yeah, they're for the grants that they work with us on.
Okay.
It takes them a while to get the receipts all collected. They're too busy planting and getting.
Oh, so these are grants you went out and got on their behalf, and then they're showing you the results of what they've done.
Correct.
Okay.
So we go back out, calculate it all.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, sorry.
No,
Thanks.
no, sorry for that.
How's the weed cutter coming?
It's progressing. I don't have a exact update yet. No date yet.
Okay.
It'll be a ways out. I mean, at least till the spring. It's still anticipated to be before harvest season.
Okay.
If not, our other one is up and running and we got it winterized.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Doug.
Okay, thanks, Doug. Okay, Danny Welch, Point of Cooperative Extension.
Good evening, everyone. Few things I want to highlight in my report. First of all, on November 8th, working with our new partners in the South Central New York Regional Dairy and Field Crops team, we had a school for farm employees that work around feeding cattle on our dairy farms. And it had about 30 people. What was new about that program was we were able to offer it in one room in English, the other room in Spanish for our farm workers that are Hispanic. So that was great. And first time that we've been involved in a program like that. So that was good. Just last week, Ryan Stachak, who I hope many of you will get a chance to meet in the coming months, started as our shared environmental educator this is a project with Seneca County Cooperative Extension and Cooperative Extension in Schuyler County. And he'll be working on education around solid waste, some water quality at the consumer or homeowner level, let's say, and trying to strengthen some of our volunteer-based education programs. And probably for Jim, we're hoping to build some linkages there with Seed Grant to provide some more programs in that area. And then finally, just right after Thanksgiving, we had about 15 people attended a mental health first aid seminar that we hosted in collaboration with the New York FarmNet program at Cornell and the New York Center for Agricultural Medicine and Health. And really kind of had to focus on some of the challenges with mental health in rural and farm communities. That's all I got.
Any questions?
Good job, Dan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Karen Cool, what's next?
Next, must be ready, almost ready to wrap up, right? So you've got my report, just a couple of things I wanted to point out. First of all, and the chart that you usually have at the top of the report, I hope most of you know how to interpret that. And that talks about the occupancy in the area, the first column, and there's some little teaching in the bottom. The first two columns, 22 and 21, are the occupancy, which means how many rooms were booked. The second one, the ADR, is the average daily rate. So that's about how much average a hotel can charge for the room. The last column is revenue per available room. And that's the one I wanted to highlight because there's quite a bit of a difference from 21 to 22. And this demonstrates that we have a very strong demand in our area, but it also shows that we have not as much supply as we could. So that is something that we in the tourism board are looking into to see if there's anything that the tourism office can be involved in trying to figure out how to attract more hotels to the area to help with that. In the public relations, I did want to point out one public relations hit that we had that was really fun. We hosted last fall a couple of individuals from New York City who came to look into the wine industry in the area. They visited Cayuga, Steuben, and Yates County for several different wineries. And now they have a local TV show that's going out in New York City that's putting out these programs that they put together. The two wineries in Cayuga County that were included was Heart and Hands and the Quarry Ridge Winery. So that's kind of fun. We are working on developing a magazine for Cayuga County, a tourism magazine, of course, but it's more of a luxury piece than the typical travel guide that has all the listings. This one has a lot of articles that we've been sending out requests throughout the county. It's like, hey, you really love golfing. Do you want to write an article for us? So the intent for this magazine is to give pride to the area and also to be used in hotel rooms. You know, you go to some hotels and there's like a magazine of things to do in the area. So we're hoping to partner with our hotels so they can have it in their rooms as well as our home rental properties. They can have it for the people that come through. So we're really excited in putting it together. We are still about halfway through, but we do plan on sending it to print at some point in Q1. We look forward to all of you having a copy and talking about it. And then the last thing I want to point out is the Brave Women FLX campaign and the hybridization campaigns are both launching. Those are two campaigns that started about 3 years ago to try to bring more visitation to the area in the shoulder season, the lower months. Our hotels are most empty January and February and then March. So that's exactly when these two campaigns come together. You'll be hearing a lot because we have a lot of content going out there about hibernation, which is a time for you to just enjoy a little R&R, relaxing in the hotel room with good food, good craft beverages and some nice cold walks around. And Brave Women is the one that I've mentioned before that we collaborate with several counties in the area where we highlight women-owned businesses. And this year we have this really fun crafty quiz that we hope a lot of people take that talks about which brave women are you. So you can kind of, based on your answer, see if you resemble more like a Harriet Tubman or Frances Seward or Matilda Jocelyn Gage. And from there, we'll also be sending the same quiz to a lot of our women-owned businesses so that we can develop a crafted itinerary for the personality that you embody. So that's something fun that we'll be kicking off this year. Any questions?
Yeah, Karen, and then maybe this is just as much for Doug. Ever since I was a little kid, I was wondering why there's not a hotel or something on Dovalan, or at least in Emerson Park. Has that ever been thought of? Is that anything that you've thought about and worked with Doug? Is that a possibility because of the Emerson Foundation? You just talked about bringing more hotels in.
Yeah, we with the county, with Steve and Doug, have had a couple conversations with potential sites throughout the county that could be considered for development. So around Emerson Park is one of the places that we've looked at.
Great.
What we're hoping to do is put together a lodging feasibility study that we're working on putting an RFP out for in Q1 that will be sent out through agencies to potential developers. We're hoping and crossing our fingers, and it'll be within the RFP to bring in interest for boutique properties. We're hoping not to get a big, massive chunk of a property that just, sits like a box in the middle of the site. But that can bring in, higher customers, but as well bring character to whatever site ends up getting developed. So that's part of the things we're considering, but it will all end up in the RFP that we're hoping to have ready in Q1.
Great. Thank you very much.
Certainly.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other questions?
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you very much.
Okay, there's nothing else to come before this board tonight. Can I get a motion?
Okay, well, I couldn't even put my hand up to say something.
Moved by Christina, second by
Me.
Bob Schiff.
Forget it then. Forget it. I'm not gonna tell you how much I'm gonna miss you guys. Last week of the year.